Okay, there we go. All right, so this is our billing demonstration for refugee matters. Um, this billing demonstration, it is meant to supplement a review of the tariff and billing handbook, as not every single rule or scenario is going to be covered here. When you sign in to your portal, you're going to get your welcome page for the news. And to submit an account, you're going to select the account tab at the top here. Then you're going to select Create, Modify, Review an Account at the underneath the Civil Account heading here. Once you do that, you're going to see two separate tabs at the top. Add a new account is automatically selected and highlighted. Find an existing account is one that you can use when you're finding a saved draft or a previously submitted account. We are going to be adding a new account, so I'm going to highlight that one. You can either enter your certificate number in the field here, or you can click on this magnifying glass and you can select your certificate number from your list of certificates there. I'm just going to paste my certificate here, which is already telling me I have a draft. So let me go into the draft. Sorry, I had been looking at this earlier today. And it may just take a moment for it to actually load the page and populate everything. The first section here is going to be called Basic Account Information. Because I was already in this today, I'm just going to go over everything that I had completed and show you everything that gets input throughout this. So when you first start, you're going to have your account information at the top here that I'm highlighting. The only part of this that you are able to edit or change is going to be the account date. However, we do recommend that you just leave it as the date that it is showing. It's often the date the account was created, even if you have a saved draft. In the basic account information, we're going to look at, will you be billing additional services or disbursements under this certificate? If you're going to submit additional accounts, you're going to select yes. If you are unsure or uncertain if you're going to select accounts, or sorry, if you're uncertain that you're going to be submitting additional accounts, you're going to also select yes. And you are going to select interim as your account type. For this demonstration, though, I am going to be selecting no and final. And the reason for that is we're just going to go through the entire account together. The first date of service here that you enter, it should be the first date of service that you're billing on for this account, which should correspond with the first date of service in your detailed account or the dockets that you're going to be attaching to the account. You can enter it manually, or you can select the calendar and select your dates from here. It is important to note that legal aid does allow lawyers to provide services up to 30 days prior to the effective date of the certificate where there was no private retainer received. Services beyond that are not authorized by the certificate, and counsel must request that the certificate be backdated in accordance with Section 50 of the Legal Aid Service Rules in order to receive payment. You can submit the request by clicking on the Submit Certificate Coverage Materials link in the Certificate tab, and your request should address the factors listed in Section 50 of the rules. They're going to be discussing submission of documents later on in the presentation. You'll see throughout the account as well that there are question marks all over the place here. You'll see. If you select any one of these question marks, you will be taken to an information page about what that section of the account is about. So you can read about what's there. This one even has billing for 30 days prior, and then select done, and you'll be taken right back to your account page. Your last date of service here should also be the last date of service that you are submitting for on your account. The docket that we have here, you'll see my docket here. First date of service was June 24th of 2024, and my last date of service, if I scroll through, is May the 28th. So I've input those here. I'm just going to remove this section for a quick moment, just so that you have an idea of what I'm doing. Determining the applicable tariff maximum is the next section here. This section is going to list all of the authorizations available that you can bill against on the certificate. So please ensure that you're only providing services authorized for the certificate. For example, this certificate authorizes 9 hours for the basis of claim and portal application, as well as 9 hours for services at the hearing other than the attendance at the hearing. And we're going to get to the attendance in a moment. If you have provided services which are not authorized or are not appearing on the account, you should not proceed any further with the account. You can click on the home button to exit and request additional authorizations through your portal. When you do select home, you're going to get a pop-up message that asks if you would like to save the account as a draft. We recommend that you do not save the draft if you require additional authorizations. This is because once the draft is saved, new authorizations will not be viewable or billable on a draft account. So it's best to just not save a draft, request your authorizations first, and then come back and create a new account. How to determine your tariff. So to determine what your tariff actually is, you would just add up the hours that are listed on the certificate. So here we've got 9 and 9. So we have a total of 18 hours without the hearing time already. Some authorizations have the ability to generate further tariff, just like this second one here for the hours in court. Here in the hours in court, you may enter the actual time in the hearing, which is then going to be added to the number of authorized hours. For example, 18 hours plus your court time. On immigration and refugee certificates, you'll notice that there is nothing in the field for number of extra days. This is because you must request a separate authorization for additional preparation for hearing days that occur after the first day of hearing. To enter your hearing time, you are able to enter it if you attended the hearing. You are able to bill for the hearing time from the point when the member arrives in the hearing room and goes on record to commence the hearing or to discuss pre-hearing matters. Attendance time concludes when the member goes off record at the end of the hearing. Time should then be entered in this hours in court field. Adjournments and postponements should not be entered as hearing time. On our sample docket, you'll see that our hearing time here, we have 3.3 hours. So I'm going to add 3.3 into this box for the hours in court. This 3.3 then gets added to the 18 listed here on the certificate. The RPD file number, once you have entered the hours in court, this will populate, and you will need to enter your RPD file number. As of July 22nd, 2019, you're required to enter your RPD file number when submitting accounts that have refugee hearing time. If there's more than one claimant, You only need to enter the principal claimant's RPD number. I'm just going to enter my number here. This adding the RPD file number was incorporated as part of a recommendation by the Auditor General in her 2018 report on legal aid. The total hours billed, again, I'm just going to remove some of what I had done earlier so we can see the process here. Total hours billed. The acknowledging lawyer and the solicitor number here are, you can see, pre-populated. So that is who has acknowledged the certificate. It's in their portal. When you enter the total number of hours billed, you must enter each service provider's hours, inclusive of their hearing time. And each service provider needs to be on a separate line in the account. So you can click on the plus sign right here beside this line to add additional lines for each service provider that you are billing on this certificate. In order to enter another lawyer's time, you must have their legal aid roster number or solicitor number. That needs to be input into the account. You cannot bill a lawyer who is not a legal aid roster member. Other service providers, such as law clerks or students, a student who is not an articling student under formal articles of clerkship, the experiential component of the law practice program, or the integrated practice curriculum must be billed as a law clerk. Once an articling student or LPP student is called to the bar and obtains a license to practice law in Ontario, they are prohibited from providing legal aid services or submitting accounts as a student or law clerk. An individual who holds a license to practice law and wishes to provide legal aid services must apply and be approved for roster membership before providing any legal aid services or submitting any accounts for legal aid services, and cannot be paid for services provided until that application for roster membership is approved. For more information about students and law clerk billing, you can see the Better Billing Bulletin, or B3, issue number 58. That was issued June 17th of 2024. There's also information in the Tariff and Billing Handbook. Paralegals should also be billed as law clerks. For our total hours worked, our docket here, we have listed each individual separately on each line for their totals. So for counsel, we are going to enter their time at 17.9. For the law clerk, you just need to enter law clerk in where the solicitor number for lawyers would be. Our system will accept that. We are going to enter 0.8 here. That is what we had listed on the docket right here. And our student time is 2 hours. So again, we're going to, in our account, we're going to write student, and then we're going to enter 2.0 hours. And you can hit calculate. That pop-up is because I have disbursements listed later on. So you will also see here that the hours billed showing up in what the system has calculated for law clerk and student do not match what my inputs are. Services performed by a law clerk or student are treated as preparation time, and they are allowed up to the tariff maximum allowable under the certificate. Each hour of law clerk or student time counts as 1/3 of an hour for the purpose of calculating the tariff maximum. Our system automatically is going to divide that number that you input by 3 so that you don't have to do that when you're doing your docketing. You just need to enter the actual time. The student or law clerk is going to get paid for the hours that they have worked. but for the purposes of the tariff maximum calculation, legal aid is going to count each hour as 1/3 of an hour of the preparation time available. The next section below your total hours of work regards private retainers. So if you were retained privately by the client or by another third party to perform services for this client with respect to the same matter or any related matter or any ancillary matter before or after the effective date of the certificate, you will need to select yes. And you will receive a pop-up that says, please attach your detailed dates and times. Private account does say fax, but you can attach them to your account here. We prefer that they be attached to the account. If you were retained on a pro bono basis, you will enter 0 in the private retainer field here, or you will enter the actual amount that you received as your retainer. I am going to select no here. There is also a question that says, I am also representing the client on another certificate. So here you will enter any other certificate number that you are representing the client on. A note on the private retainer that I did miss, I just want to go back to, I'm sorry. When you're reporting your private retainer, you only need to report it on your first account. You don't need to continue reporting the same private retainer on every single account. If you do, it is going to delay your payment. So you only need to report that on your first account. The next field after the private retainer and other certificates is listed as funds received. This is not applicable to refugee and immigration. It will be grayed out, so you will not have to fill that in. Same with this section here where it says refugee. This is actually no longer selectable, so you will not have to enter anything here. We will move on to special disbursements. Special disbursements are those that are require prior authorization from legal aid, from lawyer services and payments before you actually incur the expense. If you're unsure if the disbursement that you intend on incurring requires authorization, please consult our disbursements handbook. The first section here does show as prior special disbursements. That's going to show a list of any previously submitted for payment disbursements that you've already submitted an account on to legal aid. Once you have requested an authorization for a disbursement, lawyer services and payments is going to advise you if the disbursement was approved. If it was approved, it will then appear here in this section. When you have a special disbursement approved, do not bill in excess of the quantity, rate, or amount that was authorized and shows on your account, as that's going to prevent the account from being paid automatically and will then create a delay in your payment. If you require an increase in the amount authorized, please request this in writing from lawyer services and payments prior to submitting your account through your portal so that that can be changed or updated for you. Also, do not include HST when you're entering the amount in the online account, as our system is programmed to add your taxes automatically. Next, we'll go to the regular disbursement section here. Again, I am just removing some pieces so I can show you later. Regular disbursements is our next section here. As you can see, there is prior regular disbursements listed here. So this lists the cumulative total of regular disbursements that you've previously billed. You can see that previously there has been some language interpretation, some photocopying, postage, and translation of documents. These are the disbursements that do not require prior authorization. You can check the disbursement handbook to be sure that the type of disbursement is allowed for the type of case that you're billing. Most disbursements also have limits on the amount that can be billed. These limits are going to appear next to the disbursement label itself. You must request authorization in writing from lawyer services and payments prior to billing disbursements which exceed the amount allowed. There is an exception to this, which would be faxes, photocopies, postage, and telephone calls that exceed the threshold amount should have an explanation attached along with the account. You would follow the same procedure for special disbursements when you're seeking authorization for disbursements that exceed the limit. You should also please ensure that your invoices comply with all LAO policies. To add your disbursements, you're going to click on the Add Disbursements link in the disbursements table here. So if you click there, you're going to be taken to a page that lists of the inherent disbursements that are available on this certificate. So for this particular certificate, I'm going to select language interpreters because I do have an invoice for them. And at our most recent rate, which is number 14 and 15 here on this list. Once you've selected whatever disbursements that you would like to bill, you would then select Add and Return at the bottom of that page. And it's going to take you back to the account page and show you your disbursements as listed. It pre-populates with a quantity of 1 for the language interpreters. It is important to note that it is a maximum for the entire certificate for the interpretation, whether it's first hour or subsequent hours. So we will pay $39.25 for the first hour of each meeting, and then $24 for each subsequent hour of that same meeting. The maximum interpreter hours that we do allow on a certificate is, it shows as 10 here, but there is 13 now that is available. So on this, I do have an interpretation invoice. So it's what I have here as my invoice. And you can see here, it shows the dates of the meetings as well as the time and the different rates for each of the docketed pieces here. So we are going to first input our subsequent hours, which is 3.1. And our system is going to do that calculation for us. And the first hour was 5.5. And you click in the next field, it will once again populate for you there. And although you're not required to attach all of your disbursement invoices, you are required to retain your invoices and produce them if requested. However, we do advise that it is just good practice to attach all of your invoices to your account, as that's going to avoid any sort of delay in payment, or if we wish to review it. And then you can click on the calculate button, and you're going to get a message about attaching disbursement invoices because you have billed in disbursements. And then you'll see in the summary here, all of the fees billed, that is for all fees for all service providers totaled together, your total disbursements, your HST, and your total amount billed. Right below the summary, there is a question stating, are you requesting a discretionary increase right here? If you are going to request a discretionary increase, you need to select yes. And you're going to get this pop-up message that asks you to attach a detailed explanation of the exceptional circumstances that justify the increase. There's going to be more about discretion a little bit later on in today's presentation as well. Do not copy and paste your discretion request in this comment box. It should be submitted on the form that you can find in the forms library on our main website. In this box, you can just write, please see attached, and leave it at that so that it is stated that you do have it somewhere, and it should be attached as an attachment along with your dockets. I'm just going to select no here. I'm not requesting a discretionary increase on this file. And another just quick note before I move on to the attachment section is that regarding discretion, it is important that you seek any and all authorizations that might be available for the certificate prior to requesting discretion. For example, if you attended at a subsequent sitting or there were written submissions, something like that, that would be an authorization that you request prior to billing rather than requesting it in a discretion request. Again, I'm just moving this so that I can show you the process of adding attachments here. And I need to close my files, I think, so it will attach correctly. Your attachments is essentially one of the final sections. You're going to select attachment type, and you get a drop-down menu of different options here. Just dockets are required when you're submitting for hours worked. So you will need to attach your dockets. So select dockets. Then you can click on this paperclip icon that says attach, and you're going to get this file attachment box. This might say browse. This might say choose file. It's going to depend on your browser. But if you select choose file, there's my docket. It's going to put it there, upload, and it's going to upload the docket for you. And it may just take a moment. There it is. I'm also going to add another file here. So I click add new file to add another attachment. And here I'm going to put in my invoices for the interpretation services. Once your attachments are uploaded, you are able to select view attachment if you would like to click on them to confirm that they are there. But once you're seeing this page like this and no longer seeing the attachment paperclip icon, they have been uploaded and attached. Submission of the account. The person submitting the account is required to identify themselves. So if you're the acknowledging lawyer of the certificate, you can just click here where it says submitted by acknowledging lawyer. Or if this is staff, employee, they must provide their name, phone number, and email. Office contact is fine, but we do require that the person who submits the account identifies themselves. Just for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to select submitted by acknowledging lawyer. Please note also that it is the responsibility of the acknowledging lawyer to review the online account and the attached dockets prior to the account being submitted. Once you click on the submit button, a pop-up warning does remind you of this and ask if you would like to proceed with the account. If the lawyer has not reviewed the account, you can scroll and save as a draft down here on the bottom left corner. However, again, if you are still needing to seek authorizations or need a special disbursement added, we recommend to not save that draft so that the account itself can actually be updated correctly. Once you select submit, I am not going to do it here only because in case we have questions that we need to scroll through or change anything on, you'll be able to see that. But when you hit submit, you will get a confirmation of the submission of the account, which you can then print. You can also return to the account, print your version, click on printer-friendly version for the client so that you can provide the client with a copy of the invoice. That then would conclude submitting this refugee account.